Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name is Greg Crane from Yamaha Drums, and today we're in Reseda, California, and we're going to meet up today with Buckcherry drummer Xavier Muriel. We're going to have some hot dogs at my friend Joe Fabricini's place, Fab Hot Dogs. We're going to talk about drums, we're going to talk about a bunch of great stuff, and just see what happens. So stick around, grab some corn, and hey, it's movie time. It's from Strange Brew and Netflix it.
What's up, man? Get some dogs, bro.
We're dogging. What are the tots?
Dude, metal. That's some good dog there, son. God damn.
They put together a good hot dog. Oh yeah, Joe's a drummer, by the way. So how did you get involved with Buckcherry?
The BCs? I originally lived out here once before, and I'd actually met Keith, the guitar player, at Guitar Center, because he worked in guitars and I worked in the shipping warehouse. He'd come down to the warehouse and hang out. And this is when, you know, everybody still had really long hair, and, you know, we were all searching for the dream, if you will. He comes in one day and I was totally bummed out. He's like, "What's up, man?" I go, "Oh, you know, my old lady and I are fighting and I think I'm gonna move out tonight." And he's like, "Well, dude, why don't you just come hang with me, my pad?" I'm like, "All right." Well, I literally at that point had a drum set, which was very small, and a black duffel bag full of clothes. I don't even think I had an underarm deodorant. Drums and clothes, that's all I owned. My drum stayed in the corner of his apartment. He had his one bedroom. His living room had a big old entertainment center in it. We turned it sideways and halved the living room, and I slept on the other half. It was like total collegiate nonsense. And it wasn't really even a bed. It was like a mattress on the floor. And he brought me home one of those little plastic milk crate things that I put a piece of wood on, and I had a lamp. And that was it. That was my room. He was playing guitar a lot, he was recording and stuff, but we never made any music together. All we did was run around Hollywood and act like idiots. I wound up moving back to Texas, and we kept in touch for, you know, for many, many years, and then he wound up putting the first incarnation of Buckcherry together, but it was called Sparrow. When they changed the name to Sparrow, he called me and asked me if I wanted to move back to LA, and I was like, hell no, I'm not moving back to LA, no way. Lo and behold, a year later, it comes out on the radio, and I'm working in a custom Harley shop in Austin. I call up the radio, and I'm like, who is that? It's all this band out of California, they're brand new, they're the next Guns N' Roses, and da-da-da-da-da-da, and they're called Buckcherry, and I'm like, oh. You can imagine how I felt. You know, I just shot myself in the foot twice. So time goes by, and their first tour they play in Austin, and I go down there to see them, and it was a small club. You know, they were in a van in a trailer. We hung out and just had a great time and exchanged numbers. Well, I was really into building bikes at the time. When he got back to LA, a couple of years later, he got into bikes and he called me. He'd be like, hey, you know, I'm looking to do this, I'm looking to do that, what do you think? And we'd keep in contact. When Buckcherry would come through town, my bands would always open up for him. Right around the mid part of 04, I called him up one day and I said, hey man, you know what? It's time for me to give this thing one last shot. You got one left in you. And he's like, yeah, if you think you're gonna move out, let me know, we'll get serious, we'll get a house together, da-da-da-da-da. It wasn't until later on that him and Josh had started speaking again. When I got here, unbeknown to me, him and Josh had already been talking. And I put my drums in his rehearsal room, which is the same one that we have now, same sweaty, stinky box where we do our best work. One day Jimmy walks in, the bass player, and Stevie walks in. He's like, oh, these are my friends, do you know any songs? And I'm like, well, of course. You know, I was a big fan before I was actually in the band. We went over a couple songs, and then the next day came around and we got together again. The next day, Josh walks in, and I was like, oh, all right, I see what's going on here. And that was it. We jammed for about 4 or 5 days. Josh sat everybody down on that 6th day, and he said, anybody who wants to be in the band, you know, we're gonna put this thing back together and show up Monday with rehearsal room rent. And that was it, you know. That's when the hell really started. But the big misconception is that everybody was rock stars still, and it was not like that at all, man. Everybody was working day jobs, rehearsing at night. Any spare money that you had, any spare moment was always spent in the room. That was January of 05. By May, we had actually went to Japan and did 2 festivals because they'd still had a following here that was really big. I'm big in Japan. But the thing was, we sought management, we sought record companies, and nobody wanted to touch us. Nobody would sniff us. We were older, tattoos weren't that cool yet. We weren't playing the flavor of the month. We weren't emo, we weren't prog, we weren't, you know, Cookie Monster music. We were just a rock and roll band. And there wasn't any rock and roll bands anymore. They were all gone except for the majors. We secured a deal in Japan, used that to come back here to the States to finance the record ourselves. We got on 11-7, which is the label that our management was under, 10th Street. It was a low budget record. We did the artwork for the album cover with a handheld in Japan. up against a white wall. If you look at it, it's white. Because it was like, here, click. Oh, here, click. That's what we had to work with. But we were bound and determined, man. We were like, you know what? We're all here. We're ready to do this. Everybody was very serious. There was no more alcohol or drug problems or chick problems. It was all about making a great rock and roll record. The first show that we played was in front of like 250 people because we billed it as the Cherry Brothers. We didn't want anybody to know it was Buckcherry. We went to Japan, and the next show that I played was at the Chiba Stadium in front of 45,000 people. So I played Agora Hills on a Thursday and the Chiba Stadium on Sunday. And I had to ask my boss, you know, hey, I've got to go to Japan for 7 days. Is it cool? Do I have a job when I come back? Thank God enough they were cool. But I literally went back to work, running oil back and forth to the mechanics. And they were like, hey, what's up, rock star? And I'm like, hey, dude, I just punch a time clock just like you. I don't see any rock stars around here, you know? The biggest song that set us off was Crazy Bitch. And that wasn't even supposed to be on the record. They were like, you know it, go ahead and record it, we'll see what happens. Maybe it'll make the record. But seriously, who's gonna put a song on the radio that had the word and the word bitch in it? Seriously. MySpace was booming right then and there, so we went ahead and put it on MySpace as a teaser track. Well, all these DJs from the East Coast that were huge Buckcherry fans were taking the song off of MySpace. And they were replacing all the profanity with like Chewbacca or Homer Simpson or a duck quack, and they were playing it over the air. And people were calling up going, what is this? So what started out as like kind of a joke started to take off, and it was like free promotion for us because everybody was putting it on their MySpace pages, and we toured on that record for 25 months. We told ourselves we're not coming back till it goes platinum, and we didn't. Of course, you know, all the record labels were like, no, that'll never do anything, blah, blah, blah. Well, 6 months later when it was released, it went gold. Then it went platinum, and I think it's almost certified double now. For 2010, certified double platinum is easily doubled, you know, so because everybody's downloading and ripping and whatnot. I remember leaving work Friday. We were starting the tour on that following Wednesday. I literally left Glendale Harley-Davidson, went through my checklist, and you know, by that time I had spent all of my time myself. I secured Remo, Xavier, Yamaha, Vader, just by, you know, beating the street. And
yeah, how did you come into Yamaha?
It's funny because when I went to Japan the first time, I had sent a packet to Yamaha, and when I got back, the packet from Yamaha had been sent back to me because they had moved. So I was like, now what do I do? And all I did is I literally got on the website, called, left a message, said, hey, this is what's going on. I'm really interested. I've had the same recording custom kit for 16 years. It's been repainted twice, and it still sounds incredible. They called me back. I had a meeting with them on Friday, and I had a kit on Wednesday before I went on tour. So I had this pallet delivered to my front door that had a Yamaha Oak kit and stands and hi-hats, and then like later that day I got a shipment from Xavier, and later that day I got a box of sticks from Vader with my signature and the band logo, and I was just tripping. I played that Yamaha Oak kit, and I beat the shit out of that kit. And then I got the grandiose idea. I was like, I'm gonna go old school. So I called up the powers that be at Yamaha, and I was like, you know what? I want a 26-inch kick drum. And they were like, what? We haven't made a 26-inch Cozy Pal. And I said, I know. I want one. Lo and behold, 3 months later, I'm in Traverse City, Michigan, and my 26-inch Oak shows up. And ever since then, I've been using 26. I'm the only Yamaha artist. If 24 is big, 26 is big.
26 is even bigger.
I mean, come on, man. You know, it's bottom, you know? Go big or go home.
So how the drums on a new record?
Ridiculous. I'm very happy to say. I kind of scaled down things for this record. I mean, every other record I've used really big drums, and this one I wanted a completely different effect. I went with the anniversary kit. I went with the 24, 13, 16, 18, and I didn't hire a drum doctor. I did everything myself. I scaled down the drum diameters, and then I scaled down the cymbal diameter so that I could really get really tight, aggressive, distinct notes. Because I think a lot of times when bands, they get really too excited about all the that they can do, and they forget about what they shouldn't do. You know, like, we can put this on it, we can process it with this, we can layer it with that, we can trigger this, we can multi. I'm like, no. Just, I don't want any of that. I want all acoustic drums. That's not how Bono did it. That's not how Moon did it. I did all the tuning myself. I used not one other drum than Yamaha. I used my Manu snare. I used my Borden snare. I used the Lime, Paul Lime. I used the Oak that I custom made in Japan, which is just the loudest Oak drum I've ever used in my life. And I got the most incredible drum sounds. And even my engineer and the two producers were like, these are good drum sounds. And I was like, wow. So I, you know, of course I had to call up my tech, who's been my guy for 25 years, and he also happens to be my best friend. And I said, wow, dude, they're really complimentary about my drum sounds. And he's like, well, it's good to know at least you know how to still tune. I'm like, I don't know if if that was a dig or not, but I'm gonna take it as damn, look at that. What's your eye on that? I'm very heavily involved with a foundation called Donate Life. A lot of people aren't familiar with it. A lot of people have some misconceptions about it. Basically, it's a foundation that brings awareness for people that when they go to the DMV and they do their driver's license, whatever, that they become donors. My father just had a dual lung transplant and he's doing incredible. It's an amazing thing to see somebody who you've looked up to your entire life whittle away. The easiest chores that we take for granted every day, like brushing your teeth, walking to the bathroom, to watch somebody like that and not be able to do that anymore is pretty brutal. And then to see that somebody had donated their lungs for whatever reason, and he gets those lungs, and 2 months later he's up and walking around without oxygen, without a cane, without anything, you know, like he used to be. There's a lot of people that lives can be helped, whether it's, you know, skin grafting, a liver, a kidney, your retinas, your lungs, your heart. You know, I was in the hospital with him for almost 3.5 weeks straight while he was under awaiting lungs. And there were people from all walks of life, man, all age groups. There was a girl who was 17 who had 2 lungs and a heart transplanted 2 weeks later. Walked out of the hospital. There are a lot of charities in the world. There are a lot of things that people can do to help out, you know. That's just the one that I choose because it's dear to my heart, as well as one of my great friends, Corey. Her father went through the same thing. So her and I have put together a bunch of celebrity musicians that have donated snare drums, touring clothes, sticks, tour booklets, cymbals, you know, guitars, you know, everybody from like Kiss, Whitesnake, Motley Crue, Faster Pussycat, John 5, myself, anybody that can help. And you can even do donations, you know, money donations. It doesn't matter. Every nickel helps. And every time somebody signs their card and they get that little pink sticker on their driver's license that says that they're a donor now, that's more important than anything, you know, because, you know, God forbid, nobody wants to lose anybody. But if that's the way it has to be, and they can actually help somebody else to live, then, you know, that's a great thing, you know. That's a really great thing.
Where are you going after this?
Let's go to Yash.
See you over there.
Yeah, absolutely. Where are we on? Oh, Tampa to the 101 down.
Tampa 101.
Got it. I'll see you
all right, man.
We'll
see you there.